Good evening, good morning, and good day. And thank you so much for once again choosing to spend a little bit of your time with me. Today we're going to branch out a bit and have a look at r/entitled parents. The home of, well, people acting like absolute dickheads, to be honest. Entitled mother brings her 4 kids to an adult-only wedding. I attended an adult-only wedding for a co-worker a few days ago. The actual ceremony was in a very small church, so it was mostly family and close friends, but the reception was for roughly 250 people. The reception was at a very elegant hotel ballroom, not child-friendly in any way. Crystal stemware, expensive linens on the table, etc. About half an hour into the reception, a commotion started that made everyone stare. Entitled mother is arguing with the wedding planner loudly. Me, being the nosy broad that I am, inch closer to hear. Turns out the entitled mum brought her 4 young children to the reception, even though the invitation clearly stated adults only. The entitled mum insisted that her kids, I'm guessing at the ages, but the oldest one looked around 8ish, and the youngest one was under a year old, was super well behaved, so it was fine. Now keep in mind, this was around 7:30 PM. The wedding planner was having none of it. She insisted that the children were not allowed and she had to leave. In a last-ditch effort to get admitted, entitled mum shouted at the bride. The bride went over and listened to her for a moment, and then said in a syrupy sweet voice, "Of course you can come in, entitled mother, but your children cannot." She turned on her heel and went back to her new husband. Entitled mum flipped a nut, yelling about how she was invited, couldn't find a babysitter, etc. 3 of the groomsmen ended up escorting her and her kids to the door. Gosh, that could have gone so many different ways for that woman. She could have had a lovely night. Instead, she just had to be lazy and put her issues on everyone else. Way to be a bitch. Don't do that. Weddings are people's very special days, and it's not for you to go ahead and break their rules and what they want to have on that day. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for them. Don't fuck it up. Twat. My husband is in the army, so your house is mine now. So where I live, there's a small army base, and around it is a housing estate where the families live. Part of this estate was sold to a couple of housing associations, and I live in one of those. The army families move around a lot, so people in those houses generally move every 2 years or so. Some a little more frequently, others less so. There's a row of 4 terrace houses directly across from me, and one of them was empty, ready for new tenants. Here's where we begin. I took my daughter to a nursery, and then went shopping for some new clothes. This was at 9 AM. I get back about 11:30 AM and see a large moving truck in the street. To avoid them, I go to the other side of my property. I suffer from chronic anxiety and tend to avoid most people. I go in the front door and take the new clothes upstairs to sort. Whilst I'm there, I hear a noise from my back garden and door. Looking out the window, I see a man with a large toolbox trying to open my back door, a woman behind him looking furious, and the guys from the moving company standing around with boxes looking bored. I run down the stairs and open the door, meaning the guy who I guessed was a locksmith practically fell through the door into my kitchen. He was surprised, of course, and after looking around, he was confused, because clearly, someone already lived here. The woman then sighs dramatically and thanks me for finally turning up because they've been here since 8 AM trying to get in. She just wants to get her stuff in so she and her kids can sleep. She waves the moving guys forward and then goes to get her kids out of her car. I'm busy trying to stop the moving guys from coming in with boxes, and her 2 kids, about 3 and 6, come charging into my garden. I've got a slide, swing, small trampoline and Wendy house there for my daughter to play with. I yell at them all to get out of my garden and stay away from my house. One of the movers looks in the window to my living room, sees all of my furniture in there and waves his team back to the truck. His team leader pulls out some paperwork and begins going over it. Now this one's already a complete mess, and it just gets worse. The woman starts yelling at me, telling me I was a liar and a thief among other things. I've lived in this house for 4 years and tell her such, but she's having none of it. She gets right up in my face screaming at me, and I'm having trouble not bursting into tears and running away or decking her. The locksmith tries to calm her down, and she starts having a go at him next. I call up the local police station. There's one in the housing estate, but it generally only caters to the army people and such. I figured calling them to deal with her was the best solution. They arrived after a few minutes and take the woman aside. Her kids are still playing on my daughter's things, so I tell them to get off and go to their mother because those toys don't belong to them. They go, reluctantly, and when their mother notices, she begins yelling again. Apparently those toys aren't mine. They were put there by the army for her kids because her husband is such a wonderful soldier. That this is her house and I'm just some squatter trying to steal it from her. This is when the movers come over and tell her this is the wrong address. She's moving into number 4 and this is number 14. She goes very silent, grabs her kids and leaves the garden. I call out to ask her if she's going to pay for the damage done to my garden, grass torn up by her kids and the movers, my door from what looks like footprints trying to kick it in, the scratches from the locksmith, my bushes by the gate, movers and her yanking at the moss waiting for the locksmith. She tells me no because she's done nothing wrong, which is when I inform her that I have cameras installed that would have seen the whole thing. I ask the officers if they would like to view the footage, and one of them watches the whole incident take place once I bring out my laptop, which both cameras are linked to, and he says he doesn't have anything to collect the footage just now, but he'll come back later to get it. Fucked me. Oh. And now I feel like this story's gonna get a whole lot better for us. He also tells me that he will have to report the woman's behaviour to the base, as a family's bad behaviour can have repercussions for the soldiers too. It's now 5 PM, the officer was here collecting copies of the footage in case it was needed, and might be shown to certain army officials as an example of her behaviour. Husband turned up about an hour ago, and there was a huge argument across the street. Everyone could hear it, but not exactly what was being said. Either way, this family hasn't exactly had a good start to their time here. I can only hope they move away soon, so I won't have to deal with that woman again. That moment when a dumbass bish gets the wrong address and tries to move into your house. Wow. That's a unique one. Nice one, OP. Just handled perfectly, I gotta say. Couldn't have dealt with that better, to be honest. Just something like that. Get the law involved. Oh, what an idiot. There's an update. So today I managed to speak with the husband of the woman. He actually came over and knocked on my door. He apologised for his wife mixing up our houses and wanted to make sure I was okay. He looked over the damage to my door and said he would be happy to pay to fix the damage and buy some stuff to repair my lawn. I thanked him and asked what happened with the whole house thing. This story is just twists and depths and turns. He said the movers arrived first, got the wrong house, and then called his wife, who immediately told them to call a locksmith. The movers had keys so they could get the large items in before she got there. The locksmith apparently is used by the movers a lot and didn't question the house numbers. When the wife arrived, she stopped the locksmith and tried to get the door open with the keys, and when that didn't work, she started kicking the door. The locksmith stopped her and started trying to open the door himself, which is where I came in. His wife told him everything after their argument, and he had been keeping an eye out so he could come talk to me. Things are basically sorted now. For a few who have said I didn't deal with things well, for clarification I've had a few randoms message me. Of course I didn't, I have chronic anxiety, I'm 8 months pregnant, was all by myself, and I came home to find people trying to break into my house. Woo! Yeah, you handled that incredibly well, in my opinion. I wasn't about to invite them in for fucking tea. I was genuinely terrified that the woman might assault me. So yes, I yelled at those people to get away from my house, and yes, I was angry at the damage done. Calling the police might seem extreme to you or not needed, but I wanted to be certain I was safe, and I think that was the right move as well. Considering that I'm basically dirt poor and wouldn't be able to afford repairs to my door, a door that she damaged to the point of it being cracked around the lock and leaked rainwater all over my kitchen floor because it hasn't sealed right since, I would say I was justified in wanting her to pay for that damage. Without getting a new door, I would just have to live with a broken one, using duct tape to try and keep the water out, and bracing a chair behind it because it doesn't lock properly anymore. The last few nights I haven't been able to sleep right because my home is not secure, and there have been burglaries in the area, so fuck you guys. And from me as well, fuck you guys. Nah, OP handled this amazingly well. Congrats to you, OP. You're a bit of a legend. Your kids are going to be safe as houses with you as a mum, that I am sure of. My wife and I had to explain to the neighbour that our dog is part of our family, and no, they can't just have him. A little over a year ago, when my neighbour moved into the townhouse next to us, and things seemed great. Their kids were nice and overall seemed like they were part of a loving normal home. They were quirky, but nice people who were always willing to help. From installing a screen door to enjoying a beer and a decent conversation about home improvement. However, one day red flags started popping up. Halloween came up a few months after they moved in, and we could hear all kinds of banging and pounding coming from the side of the house they are attached to. We thought it was just the kids playing and having fun, until the father called me crying on the phone about how he was so angry they didn't get invited to a big party at the next house over. The owner of that house has a policy with all the neighbours. If my garage door is open, feel free to stop in and join us. You are always invited. A few weeks later, their kids got the idea that our dog should have sleepovers with them and started asking to walk him sometimes, which at first we thought was cute, and it was. Until one day when the kids were asking about having a doggy sleepover once in a while, their mother pulled me away from my wife and said that it was really unfair that we get to have our dog all week long and that they have to build their schedule to see him around our lives and when we were home. I really had no clue what to say, but then she doubled down insisting that their family should have him on weekends because I work shift work and get to see him all week long as much as I want. Our relationship with them ended after we caught one of their kids scratching our cars accidentally, and they told us to call the police when we tried letting them know what happened. We didn't want money or for it to be fixed, we just wanted their kids to be more careful. No idea if this is in the UK or America, but they sound like some chavvy fucking cunts, to be honest. That straight up sounds like some of the absolute chavvy scumbags who live around near me. Bloody hell. Alright guys, I really enjoyed that, so I think I'm going to do more of those. So, hopefully this gets some views. If you're new around here, please drop me a subscribe and a comment and a like and all of those sorts of things. If you don't, I've got this thing where my long-time guys can warn you about this, but basically, if you don't, I'm going to sneak into your house at night and slap you around the face. Okay? Okay. Love you all. Peace. Bloody hell.